You have to find what suits you more. Are you a solo travel person? Are you a family travel person? Are you a friend travel person? These days, there are lots of women's only group. I do that sometimes, give.
But if you're traveling solo, what are the things that you need to take care of? Like,
See, most of the people go with a standard tour packages. And standard tour packages is for everybody. It's important that you spend a lot of time in planning.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Be Your Own Boss. Today, we're going to take a unique twist in our interview. Instead of talking to a business owner, we're going to explore the world of travel. We have with us a guest who has traveled to 82 countries. So, really a travel expert. So, we're going to learn from her about travel, the different experiences, and how travel can make us better entrepreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest this week is Harshana Lajmi. And Harshana has traveled to, like I said, 82 countries. So, let's welcome her to the Be Your Own Boss podcast. Harshana, welcome to the Be Your Own Boss podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And thank you very much for making an exception.
No, I think this is a welcome exception because this is I'm super excited. There is so much to learn about travel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But first of all, like 82 countries. Why?
So I can answer this now, I think. If you would have asked this a few years back, probably I would have, been thinking, yes, why? It is not about number. It is about experiences. So if you say 82 countries, it's not about 82 experiences. You can multiply by, I don't know, I mean, that number is a guesswork itself.
Yeah.
That kind of experiences that you get in every country or every new place that you visit. And once you start understanding that, you just go on. You don't even stop to even think and reflect and say that why, because there is no why.
Yeah.
It's just a journey. As they say, right, it's not about destination, but the journey.
Yeah.
So there's no destination here. I'm not saying that, okay, I will stop at 100 or I'll stop at 150, or if I see the entire, all the countries, because this is something that should continue as long as you live. This is my belief, actually.
Yeah. And it's like for you, it's not about the number of countries. It just happens to be 82.
Exactly.
Like that,
Exactly.
right? For you, it's not
Exactly.
about that number.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But like, was there a point where you decided that, oh, I'm gonna start exploring? When did it all start?
Okay, so interestingly, maybe I'll just take some time to
Yes.
give you about my background and also I'm born in a city called Belgaum. It's a border of Maharashtra, Karnataka actually, and my father was working in a small bank in a
Okay.
small job, and at a point he decided to shift to Mumbai city. Probably not knowing how, and Mumbai, it's not easy life in Mumbai at that time. I'm talking about like many years back. But I think that was a brave decision that he took, just with the intent that probably the kids will get a better education, not knowing how. So I have elder sister, younger brother, and like we are three of us when we came, and then the schooling started in in Mumbai. So Mumbai, as a childhood, it was a typical thing that on the summer vacation, the father will come and he'll come with us into Belgaum, drop us there. You spend your time with your cousins, nana, nanis, and etc. Then he'll go back, and when summer vacation is over, he will come. And then the only place other than that we used to go is Goa.
Okay.
You will be
like
surprised.
vacation?
No, you'll be surprised. Goa is, for me, it has always been a religious place. So
Goa
we have
is a religion?
yes. So we have a family temple in Goa, which is Mangeshi, and then we used to go there, take a room next to the temple, cook food there.
Yeah.
So for me, and even till date, if you ask me or if you say Goa, the first reaction is okay. It's a very spiritual and religious place. The party aspect of it came much later actually. So that was it. So this is we never had the family vacation kind of a thing. I don't think they were like, my father had any means for that. But we had a wonderful, very wonderful childhood, and we ended up growing with a lot of Bollywood, watching Bollywood movies, which gives you a lot of exposure anyway, like in a lot of places, just sitting at home anyway.
Yeah.
So as a childhood, no travel. Then when I got married also, there were a lot of responsibilities. Money was always tight, even though we had started working. But that's when we started traveling within India. And I still remember that, we used to take choices saying that, okay, let's not do a flight ticket, maybe a slightly better hotel.
Yeah.
And that is the time I said, okay, let's start exploring India. Okay, and then we used to take vacations in India. I was a planner always, and covered quite a lot of India. And it's funnily enough, it was our first trip to Rajasthan, and I still remember that I was telling my husband that one day we will come to Udaipur, the same place, maybe in a flight, and stay in this lake hotel.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think somewhere, the travel enthusiasm was always there. My friend from college told me, some few years back, she said, like, you did exactly what you used to say. I said, what I used to say? So she was like, you used to say that I want to see the world and eat, the best food from every place. So I think the travel comes from being a foodie also. And you want to eat good food from different places, that kind of inspires you. So anyway, so when for first few years it was mostly in India. So both my sister and brother in software industry, and the software industry, how they started traveling to US. Okay, and I'm talking about in 90s, and I was the one who was packing their bags, all the time. And after a couple of occasions, I was like, I just looked at the ceiling and I was like, am I going to just pack their bags or
pack bags for others?
pack bags for others? When am I going to pack my own bags? And probably somebody there, up was saying Tathastu or Amen. Your time will come, as they say, apna time aayega time. And then the turning point was in 2000. So I had a banking career, typical banking. I was in a corporate banking, retail banking. So the travel used to be within India, even as a corporate banker, actually.
Business
in 2000,
like
business travel, work travel. And then I used to take these leisure trips, in India primarily. And in 2000, I joined a software company. And in software company, you have to travel. If you want to be there, if you want to experience, you have to travel. So my first country I traveled from was Ghana in Africa.
Oh, okay.
It was a completely different world, and that's where I think I just fell in love with Africa itself. Actually, Africa is a different story of its own. So ended up staying there for a few months for work. Came back, then the bank for which I was working called me again. And this is where, the typical technology crowd, right? Young people and all. Okay, I was the senior banker in the whole, place itself. But when you have young people around you, I think it brings the, the inner child inside you always. So then when we were coming back, and by the time we gelled very well, we had a nice group there. So we're like, okay, why we are going directly to India? Let's go somewhere else. So we always used to open a map and to see, okay, what are the possibilities?
From Ghana, you were
from Ghana. So from Ghana, when we came back for a few days because it was the Christmas New Year time and there was no point in staying there. So like, okay, let's see the map. And then we say, okay, Egypt looks good. Randomly, because there was Egypt there and, the flight from there. So we, we went to Egypt. It was Ramadan time. We had no idea what Ramadan was. Three of us, we were just having a gala time there. So next time when I came back, I said, this is a good idea. Let me take a map. When second time I'm coming back, where can I go? Then South Africa. Okay, this looks good. So after that, as a part of work itself, I traveled a few, like 5 years I worked in software companies. So it was Ghana. Then I think my second one was Mauritius. I stayed in Mauritius for almost like 10 months. These were all like long duration projects, right? So then it was Sri Lanka. And then in between also, because I just used to love the travel and more importantly, meeting people and, experiencing different culture. And when you work in a different country, it's a different experience, As an individual human, we are the same at the end of the day, but there are different variations is all I can say. So in between also, whenever my boss used to ask me, there's a training opportunity here, or there's a business review there, would you like to go? So I never said no for, work related thing when it comes. So I never said no. So I even spent time in countries like Nigeria. I was very curious about Nigeria. I heard stories from my other, colleagues from there. Then so this whole travel thing, and I think in software company, because the projects are so hard and you just end up working 24/7, that the time comes and it's really intense actually. So it was kind of an unwritten thing that when you finish the project and come back, you can disappear for a few days.
Okay.
I mean, nobody said anything if you just disappear because they know that you're slogged so much, So then again is to find opportunities, okay, where can we go, kind of. In 2003, I came to UAE in Sharjah for a project itself, basically. For the few months I stayed in Sharjah. And then that project got over, and I was like, okay, I was by the time very tired of, because you can't do back-to-back projects with such intense project for such a long duration. But then there was another project happening in Abu Dhabi, and then again, they asked me, since you have experience, will you go there? I said, okay, one more. And Abu Dhabi, then that project was a little longer. Again, I had an opportunity to stay almost for 8 to 10 months, and that's where you realize, started appreciating the culture, the country, and being an Indian, it's so close to India.
Yeah.
It's like, as they say, Dubai, Abu Dhabi is like another metro kind of, right? You can just travel weekend. I used to just like, whenever I used to feel homesick, I would just travel, on a weekend. So I said, this place looks good. So at the end of the project, I said, why not to find an opportunity here? And then I got a job offer also from other bank, but the bank for which I was doing a project, they said, okay, why not join us? And that's how I settled in UAE. And UAE is a heaven if you want to travel. We are in the middle of the world.
So you once you settle, you're here for the last 20
years. Yeah. I'm
20
here
years.
since 2003, but
Yeah.
2003 to 2005 mid was more of a project work. But I became, like, let's say, resident of UAE starting from sometime 2005. And being in the middle of the world, it is, I mean, what more you can ask for? You tell me. You just look at the map, you just see where we are located. The connectivity is so awesome. It is so good.
Yeah.
So it kind of ended, it just opened up a completely new world for me. And that's where I think, so the bug was always there. I think I took opportunity even within the constraint that I had at the various time. You go through various phases in your life, actually. So you want to build your career, you want to build your finance, and then you go and, you have to pay mortgages and etc., etc. So, but while doing that, I ensured that I don't miss out on these opportunities, basically.
That is so profound, right? Like you're working on your, like, you're living your life generally, but then you want to make sure that you live those moments in between that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, interestingly, I think around 2007 or something, that's where, like, I started. And initially, of course, you're not very confident whether you can travel on your own, you can plan on your own. So you go through the typical package tours and, like, things like that. But even there, I used to find out something which is more customized, like, more suited. So I was in New Zealand that time, okay? And New Zealand, that is probably a place where adventure sports and, it's a very active kind of holiday. And when we were there, I saw one, tour, which came there, which were senior citizens. And I just looked at that group and I was wondering that, yeah, it's good that they have an opportunity to come here and enjoy at this stage of their life. But what if they would have come here, 20, 30 years back? They would have enjoyed this place much more.
Yeah.
And that's where I said, no, it is not like you save your money, you retire and travel. No, this has to be, while you are there, while you're physically fit, you can, enjoy these experiences more. So that was kind of an eye opener. It's like a reconfirming what your philosophy is.
Yeah.
So that is something I still remember. And we actually used to think that, because travel is expensive, right? I mean, it is not cheap.
It is, and how do you manage that? Because there's like there are two things. Okay, one is the money. I mean, for travel you need money and time. Okay, so let's talk about money first. We'll come to time.
So money, why everybody comes to Middle East? I think the primary purpose is money. I guess, yeah. But as I said, when I was traveling, when as a software company, we used to get allowances. So I was saving and I wanted to clear my loans and, like, paid off things earlier. And at any point of time, see, you have a certain funds and it's up to you how you allocate it. So there is some part of the fund which is necessity, right? I mean, there is no two opinion about that. You had to spend on that, actually. Then there is something which comes as an alternative use of that money. So could I have used that money probably to buy more gold or, like, more properties, or can I use that to travel? You have your options, actually. And if you have a certain budget should not be a constraint, actually. Okay, fine. At the end of the day, I can say, oh, I can afford to stay in a 5-star, so I spend more money. But you can enjoy the same place living in a 3-star. Even now you have Airbnbs and, homestay. It's about the place. It's not so. cost wise, I think you need to first of all make it like saying that okay, I want to do it, and then you will do it, right? You have, okay, it's probably it's not the best of the comparison, but you have to save money for your kids education, right? You set some money aside because that's something a purpose of your life. So if travel is a purpose, you have to take something out of it, and whatever that constraint is within that, also you have to find an opportunity. I think that's very important. So that comes to the money, but yes, by God's grace, I think, and as I said, my father's that one brave decision of going to Mumbai.
Yeah.
We all did good in studies and got good jobs and all. So I guess like monetary wise, this is something we could afford. But I tell you something, it is, I know many people that who can afford even much more but don't travel.
Yeah.
So it's not about money always, actually. It's about your intent that you want to travel, you want to have those experiences. That is number one.
Yeah.
Number two, funnily enough, always people are asking me, when do you work? Because they always see you.
If you're traveling all the time.
Yeah, I mean, when do you work? So there are you see, everybody has constraints in life, right? So the trick is how you convert those constraints to your benefit. Okay, so I'll tell you, we don't have kids, right?
Okay.
So I don't have to worry about vacation of the kids, which time of the year, like to travel, etc.
Yeah.
So as long as like okay, I get an opportunity to travel, I travel. Secondly, like most of the people, because of the family and all, they have to spend their almost half the leave going back home, like India. That's what they do, right? See, it's a finite number of leave that you have. I've never exceeded those. I've never took an exception. So whatever that, let's say 30 days or whichever number of days, I managed all my travel within that. But my India trips were always weekend travel. So I will finish my work on Friday, go there, which is again, as I said, it is expensive sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you have an occasion, but you need to take choices. If I say I'm spending on a ticket, so that's why just to give justice to that, I need to stay at least for a week. Then you spend your week in India, and then you spend in probably with your loved one, which is equally important. But I did that over weekends. And then the rest of the my 90% of my leave was utilized to travel. Travel to other countries. So this is how I managed it, actually.
And you distribute this like across the whole year.
Yes.
You
yes.
just don't take like one big holiday for disappear for a month like that.
No, unless it is like a place which is South America. That's where I remember I took 3 weeks actually.
Okay.
But other than that, a week or 2 weeks, and then secondly, what I also did is that, for example, Europe. I mean, I didn't do that you 10 days and you cover 6 countries kind of holidays. So if you go to a country, you might as well explore that one, right?
Okay.
So, and as I said, we are in the middle of the world. Europe is so accessible, it's so close. So you don't need to rush and say that, okay, in 10 days, I want to see 7. So I never had those kind of objective that, okay, I just want to tick. And
yeah, you didn't have that checklist that you know to tick something.
No. I had a checklist of saying that, okay, which countries I want to. So I have at the end of the day, after this, I just have a simple Excel file.
Okay.
Simple Excel file which says the countries visited and countries I want to visit. So at any point of time, I have at least 4 to 5 countries which I want to visit.
Okay. The next ones.
The next ones, basically. And at any point of time, the next holiday should be somewhere there in the horizon. That's a motivation, saying that, okay, you have something to look forward to, actually. So this is how I, plan this. So leave. I also did the same 81 number within the same constraints everybody had. The constraint which I had, or rather, like not to worry about the summer vacation part of it, I used to my benefit. Again, one more experience I'll tell you. It was again initially when I started travel, and June, July, August. I think it was around that time, and Europe is actually gets very hot. And it was an Italy trip, and I was just asking travel agent. I saw the weather. It's like looks like 30, 32. It's very hot. He's like, no, don't worry. It's like a Bombay weather. And you won't believe, we went there and it was like 40, 45, the heat wave. Oh. That was another learning early on, saying that first thing I check now, if I want to visit any place, the weather.
The weather.
Yeah. Because the same place you want to just run away from that place. I remember that Italy tour where, place like Venice, I just wanted to run away because we were sweating and, it was so hot. Yeah. And in the same place I visited again in a better weather, and it's a completely different place. So I think that's again, people have to remember that it's not just like, sake of it that, okay, I have been to this country.
Yeah.
Have you been there at the right time and good weather and right conditions? So that's also an important. So all these learnings that what I had early on is what I and but see, to my benefit, as I said, I could do that. I could see that, okay, the fall season starts in October, so can I go there? But at the same time, I think I take this opportunity to thank, because I'm a working person, right? I have worked for all the time, but I need to thank my team who has always ensured that work doesn't suffer because I'm not there. And I more importantly, I have to thank my bosses, who appreciated and understood that this is something, it's her lifeline. So I never, touch wood till date, had this constraint saying that. And I think that also comes with you feel responsible that, okay, if somebody is giving you all this kind of a freedom, then you feel responsible and then you plan your, travel accordingly. But that's something I would really like to mention. I think the kind of ecosystem and support system I had around me is incredible.
Yeah. And now that you have come on the podcast and you're sharing your learning with the world, so I think thanks to to Harshana's bosses, because of what you've allowed, the world is getting to learn so many things about travel.
So funnily, my current boss, he says that when Harshana is super nice, I just ask her, okay, when you want to go, where you want to go.
So there's
but I consider myself very fortunate.
Yeah. And you said that, like, when you travel, before you travel, there is always, at all times, you have something that you're looking up to, right? There's looking forward to some others. So, and that planning process also, it's fun to do that, right? Like before the.
Absolutely. I mean, it's equally enjoyable, and I think it is very important to do that planning because most of the people go with the standard tour packages. And standard tour packages is for everybody. But everybody is unique, right? Your requirements are unique. So if you take a 10 days package, I'm sure out of that, at least 30% part is something which probably is not your interest, right? So it's important that you spend a lot of time in planning. I've also seen that a lot of people have traveled many countries, I mean, even 20, 30, 40 countries, but have not traveled on their own. I've always done this through a tour company. Just saying, be brave.
Yeah.
The world is, too small now. It's like there is no such, there's nothing to fear about doing your own travel planning, actually.
But how do you manage the safety aspect of it? You're talking about being brave, right? So there may be, especially women out there who may feel a little scared or uncomfortable to go to a place that you don't know how safe that place is. How do you manage that?
So again, it doesn't mean that when I'm saying be brave, doesn't mean that you need to travel alone or do a solo travel. I think you have to find what suits you more. Are you a solo travel person? Are you a family travel person? Are you a friend travel person? These days, there are lots of women's only group. I do that sometimes. When I don't have much time to plan, I look at the itinerary and when you just look at the itinerary, you know that, okay, it fits your requirement. And you can always, when you go for these tours, you always need to keep 10-20%, which will be probably not of your interest, which is fine. But at least you know that, okay, the hotels are because in a smaller duration when you have, it's important that the hotels are in the right locations. There are companies where, the hotels are so far off. So even if you want to come back to the same place, it's practically not possible for you because, you need to travel a lot. So those are the important aspects you should see, should ask actually. If not, then best is to plan on your own. And there's one more thing what I do is that when I decide on a new country, I generally try to contact some tour agents of that country rather than, doing it locally here. I mean, there's nothing wrong in doing locally here. But I try because now, again, in this era of, Instagrams and, social media, everything is so well connected. There are a lot of countries, smaller countries. I'm not talking about the mainstream Europe and all that, but the smaller countries, there are a lot of family-run travel businesses. There are individuals who are doing this travel. I'll give you an example. I visited country Romania a few years back and I was very busy in office that time. So I was generally writing to few of them. So one, feature of a good tour agent or a travel agent is about their responses. So I know that when they respond, first of all, their responses are very fast to you and they understand what your questions are. So there's this lady who, I just contacted and I said, okay, plan an 8 days, tour for me. My interest is more to go out in the nature, etc. And she planned for me, sent it to me. Just looking at the itinerary, I was like, yes, I'll go for it. Today, she's a very good friend of mine, and we have also traveled together after that.
Wow.
So I'm
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah,
so
that connects you with people, right? Like, I mean,
absolutely.
this is, and when you go different countries, you meet different people, you make so many friends. Like you have global friends now, right? You have friends
Actually, yes. Actually, yes. In fact, I call it my travel community, actually. So,
Yeah.
in my circle, whoever wants to travel any country, they first check with me that do you know anybody there? And most of the places where I go, as I said, like because I have contacted the local agencies, even if I go through the local, let's say UAE base, but
Yeah.
you kind of like, make friends with them. So I do, give those reference to people around, and they do take extra care, when you know that, okay, what's your passion, what's your interest.
Yeah.
So finding the right, let's say the tour company or a private guide is also equally important, basically.
So you recommend going through like an organized tour packages or like planning it on your own, saying, I will go here, I will go there?
I do combination of both, actually.
Okay.
Because sometimes I'll give example. Last year I always wanted to visit South Korea. And when I was trying to do my own planning, I just thought it's a little bit of complicated. I mean, I can explain why, but I just thought, I mean, I compared the both,
Yeah.
like on my own vis-a-vis a tour company, which was a ladies only company. I found their itinerary much convenient and like easy to travel. Actually, you sometimes make good friends also. In fact, in that trip, I ended up making very good friends, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll travel again together. So these are the choices that you make. Just looking at some places are very easy to plan. You don't need a travel agent to go to Bali.
Okay.
Right? Example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
this, like, if you're going with a travel package, a tour package, there are other people who are also going with that same package. So you have that opportunity to make new friends, and this, like, you
correct.
go as a group everywhere, right?
Correct. Correct. See, everything in life has pros and cons.
Yeah.
So every travel, let's say the mode of travel has its pros and cons. If you're a smaller group, it gives you more flexibility. If you're on your own, yes, the highest flexibility you get. But then you miss the opportunity of making new friends, new connects, etc. If you're going with a group, then obviously, you need to adjust to that. So I over the period, I feel that every experience is unique and every experience is different, and it's important that you enjoy every experience. So you don't, put those barriers unnecessarily. No, I want to travel alone, or no, I want to travel with the group. Take every experience and then see what suits you the
And
best.
what kind of, like, do you go solo traveling more, or like do you travel with your family, or how does that?
It's
Most of it.
okay. So initially, I would say I travel a lot with a family. Then some of the trips that I took as a part of the my job profession, I ended up making friends.
Yeah.
Then somehow I tell you, there's a you know your tribe very well. So I have one of my best friend who's in India. I met her in one of the women's only trip, and now she's like a sister, basically. And then we know in the whole 20 people group, we identified each other, because you identify your tribe, really. So I do everything, basically. I don't just restrict that I need to do solo. Couple of solo, by the way, I started doing it very recently, actually.
Okay.
Because these offbeat countries I wanted to visit, and at the time when it is not convenient to everybody. Now, I don't want to keep this constraint saying that because I don't have a company, or like people who would like to travel with me are busy, so I should not travel. So I said, okay, let me explore on my own. But what I did at the same time is that I ensured that I tie up with a local travel company there, and there is a guide with me all the time. So these are all smaller companies, and I always I've always experienced that it's always good to go with a more personalized experiences, where there are travel agencies run by individuals or the families and all, and they really take good care of you, actually. So I didn't, I mean, that was equally enjoyable. Now, would it have been more enjoyable with the friends? Probably yes, probably like but this itself is an experience of its own, basically. So do not constrain. I'm just saying that don't put any constraints. That is the only advice I will give.
But if you're traveling solo, what are the things that you need to take care of?
If I go with a group, probably they would not be interested in doing that actually.
How to plan for a travel? What's your
June,
process?
July, August, people rush to Europe, but I tell you, the best weather is in Africa.
Is it true that some people say that if you book a certain number of days before the travel, it's the cheapest? To book too early, it'll be expensive. Book too late, it'll be expensive. Is that?